Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Trade the Chain. I see Lucas Bradley already in the chat. Thanks for joining us, and everybody else as well. It is the 14th of September. We're halfway through. Well, if you're a crypto trader, you'd call it halfway through the epoch. I'm joined with our Director of Research, Nick Mancini, as well as Doug, the Everyday Guy, DeRosa. And I know Doug is probably fuming in the inside today. As all the news of mortgage rates hitting, what was it, 6.25 or something
over
around?
6.
Well, actually, we didn't touch on this yesterday, but if we know anybody that's going to throw a crypto conference in the future outside of ourselves, we are going to hunt them down like a dog and beat them to a pulp. Because every time there's a crypto conference, the market melts down. So please, for the betterment of the Trade the Chain community, don't go to conferences unless they're a Trade the Chain conference, because they don't help anybody. They really are. They're awful.
The conferences are the number one bear indicator in crypto.
And that's the Digital Asset Summit that's being held this week in New York City. It's a widely held event concurrently with SALT, and the market's melted down first day of the conference. Shocker.
Shocker. Today, I mean, obviously from the thumbnail that you saw, we got some exciting crime news on the horizon. As well as we'll talk a new addition to the Celsius debacle as it's been unfolding. We all waited with bated breath yesterday on the auction start for Voyager, and I think we're just going to have to wait anyway until somebody publicly discloses that. So hopefully behind closed doors, that's all been going well. The thing on the horizon right now is the Ethereum merge. We're gonna analyze the chart. Also, you know, I've been asking a lot of people. I'm pretty sure people like Lucas and Petruccio and all those guys are experts on this. But Nick, does anybody have to do anything with any Ethereum based assets or Ethereum itself for this merge, or are they going to be okay? Because you know how people get all fluttered with swaps and merges.
Yeah, so I know what a lot of people are doing is moving assets back to L1. So if you have something on an L2, especially if it's probably a less robust one, like I would consider Matic like a pretty robust L2, but there are others that are not as robust. So I would recommend probably bridging back to your L1 and keeping it safe, on its original home. And then another thing would be make sure that you don't have any transactions on any of your wallets that have a good amount of capital or any significant amount of capital. Make sure you don't have any transactions outstanding, meaning like it's still processing, it hasn't closed. Just make sure that you basically button up your wallets, but you should not have to do anything. I guess if you do hold a significant amount of ETH on an L1, or I mean on chain, like you just kind of wait and see and hope that everything goes well and that your price is hopefully still the same or around the same by the time the merge completes. So in terms of like, as far as I know from a technical perspective, you don't have to do anything except just making sure that you don't have anything outstanding or floating around. That makes sense.
And staking as well, right? If you have any staked, get it off wherever you have it staked.
I would. So that's a great question. I've heard mixed things because staking definitely, the whole point of staking is kind of the APR methodology. So you want to keep that going to compound gains. Based on what I've seen for ETH staking in relation to the merge, your staked ETH should be fine. But again, if it's a less robust platform, something that's nascent, it's new, it's less trusted, it hasn't been through, trials and tribulations, then you may want to think about a different place to stake your ETH during the merge. So I wouldn't have it on some random, farm or something like that. But I wouldn't be concerned about it being on like Aave or somewhere trusted.
I'll tell you, I'm scared as crap. I mean, this is a first in the industry. This is like listen. I don't know if Nick is, but I know Doug and I are old enough to remember Y2K. Okay, and it was 1999. It was December 31st, and I had friends who like flew to Hawaii for their last days on Earth and stuff like this. Back when all the computers, everybody saying, "Oh, computers can't compute." the 2000 year, and the whole world is going to shut down. That's exactly how I feel about the ETH merch. I'm so scared that I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and someone deleted all the crypto.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be like Independence Day when everybody's standing up on the building in New York or LA or whatever, and they just get freaking lasered. And yeah, that's kind of how it feels. But if not to make too much of a dirty joke, but with the Vitalik memes that have been running around,
it's gonna be huge.
It's hard to fade that size. You know what I'm saying? So he's packing heat on chain and off. So I don't really want to fade him too hard.
Doug's trying to disappear into the bushes right now. Couple things I want to mention too before we hit the charts is tomorrow we got a really, really cool trading spaces for our weekly Thursday trading spaces with Shade the Chain. We're with Avalanche, Ava Labs. So we're excited to have them on. We just had Polygon on 2 weeks back. And so I'm super psyched. It's into the multiverse. Definitely check it out. It'll be at 2:30 p.m. tomorrow Eastern time instead of the 4:30 p.m. Eastern time on @TradeTheChain Twitter account. Also, another thing is if you see this car behind me, the number 68 Trade the Chain NASCAR, we'd all like to wish the great driver of that car, Brandon Brown, a happy birthday today. So happy birthday out to Brandon and the like. So, okay, Nick.
Hold on, before you get started, Bitcoin is under 20K.
Okay, well, I don't want people to panic and leave the show to go, sell it. So just
show's over.
Show's over. Everybody.
Yeah, we have an automatic cutoff whenever Bitcoin hits 20K. We'll be back on whenever we're at 20,001.
Oh, I forgot. Speaking of which, I'm sorry. I did forget to open with the macro markets real quick. So let me do that for the folks. As you can see up on the upper left there, we did dip below the $1 trillion mark for total market cap. We're at $990 billion, down 2% in the last day. And we have daily Bitcoin sentiment exactly neutral, 50 out of 100. Also, as you get, look at that hottest on Twitter. We open up every morning a tweet with the hottest on Twitter at the Trade the Chain account. You can see Shiba Inu leading the way, 801% more social media tweets than the previous period. So that's quite huge. We also have on the most bullish coins at the bottom left here, VTC leading the way at 96. We got SHIB with a score of 90. So definitely keeping an eye out on that and what its movements are. It's been pretty much unchanged from a price perspective. We also have REEF rounding it out with 84. On the most bearish coins, that's twice now I've seen XTZ, better known as Tezos, leading the pack in the last 2 weeks on the most bearish coins. Scored 25. Got to dig in, see what's happening with XTZ and the Tezos community. Also, EOS following close behind with a score of 27. It's been a while since I've seen EOS on the bearish coins, but as we all know, the markets are taking a little bit of a pounding these last couple of days. So, we can expect stuff like this to be popping in. Nick, gonna pull up your screen here. Let's get to the analytics, please.
Yes, sir. So as you can see, Bitcoin is under 20K, unfortunately. So this is a very interesting level. If you watch the daily show, then we kind of carved out a couple, our range. We're underneath the range. We haven't obviously accepted underneath the range yet. Definitely some plausible bearish or bullish divergence is forming. If we maybe catch at the 19 point, what is that, 8? Yeah. So if we catch at 19.8, then plausible bullish divergence, nothing to bet on just yet. But it does look like 19.8 is going to come potentially while I'm talking. We would really hope that holds, as that is the previous range that we traded in for. It was like a week. That was talk about a crappy week. That was just absolute pull your hair out week last week. But that's kind of the low-ish end of the range. We could obviously sweep down to 19.6 rather quickly and kind of SFP that. So the bull case here is that we catch at 19.8, maybe wick down to 19.6. We have bullish divergence in Bitcoin, fades all of the bears that are shorting right now and cranks back higher, potentially up to 20.6 or 21. Just based on what we're looking at with equities, this looked a lot weaker than I expected it to today. Really thought we would try and push above the current range of, the current resistance level within the range of 39.60. Clearly, that's not the case. If this range does break, if we basically break below 39.20, kind of 39.20-ish, then we'll probably start sliding down into the lower 3,900, potentially 3,800 rather quickly. I know I'm definitely a person who believes that the market prices things in rather quickly, but it doesn't happen typically in a day. We have to digest more data. We have to, there is a Fed blackout period, so we're not going to hear from anyone at the Fed until next week. So basically what you would expect is that most of the downside is currently over, and we'll probably just, the hope is that you kind of have a swing failure pattern here and we make some sort of recovery, but it's very much plausible that the market is shifting towards the belief that a 100-point basis hike is incoming. If that belief solidifies, then we're probably back near the September 6 lows, and then potentially back near where we traded in during July, which would be in the 3,800 range, potentially 3,700. So we had the discussion yesterday about the macro and how things look. It's tough to fade this when it's this oversold, but of course the 4 hour certainly still has more room. Very good. The best I can say is really good luck trading in this range, because what's going to happen is it's probably just going to torture everybody and ping pong around here until something happens. And I bet that quote unquote something will end up being after hours trading, and we'll have some volatility, when US is not in session, which typically is the case for, post extremely volatile sessions. That the goal of the market is to basically screw everybody who has the least amount of data. So the best way to not get screwed is sometimes just not play the market and wait for something very solid, because if you're shorting at support, then you risk, basically losing, your value. And when it goes back up to resistance, then you get scared that it's going to break, and it's bad psychology here. So if you're going to play the range, you long support, you short resistance until it fails. And that's basically how you would trade this little scenario here. So basically Bitcoin not looking positive. There we go. We are at 19.8. It's trying to sweep down to 19.6. Let's hope we form a wick here. For the ETH merge, obviously today it is happening about 11 hours from now. So, it's here. I mean, it's literally here. So the news is tangible. As we said before, we expected Sunday, Monday sell-off, has continued into today. We are now at the lower end of the range for ETH. So very interesting that Bitcoin broke beneath its range, trading lower. ETH for some reason is not. Doesn't mean it won't. Could be on a delay, but that's definitely interesting to note in the beginning. Should the merge be successful, I would expect, the downside going into the merge, I would say, is probably 1520. It's tough to believe that we really crank below that in the next 11, 12 hours. If the merge is successful, I have a feeling, as do a few other of my macro confidants, that let's say we head down here, merge is successful, big zoom up, and then, pretty much BART is kind of how I'm feeling the merge is going to play. Because I have a feeling if it's successful, it's one of those separate from sell the news events where it's like this major catalyst just occurred and it worked. So I have a feeling that all of the sell the news shorts are going to get squeezed, and then all of the, oh my God, everybody's bullish on the merge, all of those longs are going to get squeezed as well. So I have a feeling it's going to breed some serious volatility. But obviously I would not have bet that this morning we'd be continuing lower. But it does look like 1520 may be in play if we accept below 1560. So it's kind of how I'm looking at things now. Personally, I didn't expect this much down. So there you go, 19.6 already while we're on the call or on the chart, and it's not looking very friendly. So it's it's definitely more bearish than I expected this quickly, but it's, based on our conversation yesterday, it's not out of the ordinary to see continued downside considering the digestion of the recent CPI news and potential impact on the federal funds rates and hawkishness from Jay Powell and company. So
I did like your green price action line. That was some intense artistry.
Oh, yeah. I've been trying to do the brush more because I feel like it illustrates, the idea. Because you also told me this. So sometimes I'll just start moving my cursor around, and people are like, "What the hell is he doing?" So, go. Yeah. So also just like what I just said is Wick at 19.6, head higher. I could totally see that for Bitcoin. It's happening, right? I mean, of course, it's still a fresh hourly candle. We're only 18 minutes in, but that
a lot of chatter on that.
Support Wick down to 19.6. It's already happening. So
yeah, a lot of chatter on the on a short pop relief rally going into lower lows. It's a wonky market, as Nick likes to say. I've adopted that word. But I mean, look, whoops, wrong. Look at the Ethereum chart. I mean, that is not a chart that you would expect going into a first in history type of event, right? At all. I mean, if this was a year ago today, Doug would be calling me up saying, "Alex, I've missed it. It's already gone parabolic." Here, everybody's scared to even take a position because it's so tragic looking. So,
and that's why also we talked about this before, and why I buck all of the crypto narratives, because I really don't believe that the recent ETH price boost was due to the merge. I mean, it was literally just a high beta correlation to equities markets, and equities just crapped the bed, did it again this morning, and equities didn't even break out of the range where we were talking, and ETH and Bitcoin did. So, anyone who's saying bullish because of the merge, blah, 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 I believe they don't really know what they're talking about, because causation does not mean, or correlation does not mean causation. And the fact that the merge is literally this close, it's supposed to be one of the biggest deals ever in crypto history. And we're still sitting here tracking the S&P 500 like it's our big brother, and we don't know what to do with our lives. So it's one of those things where it's also the previous narrative that was the bullishness because of the pivot, the previous bear rally that we had, and people were talking about the Fed pivoting. I'm like, that's the dumbest narrative I've ever heard in my life. It's short covering. Everybody was short for 3 months. Of course they're covering. Nobody's actually thinking the Fed's going to pivot because inflation is at 8%. So just be careful of these narratives that you hear, and always look just a little bit more within to see what else is happening in the market, because trust me, whatever you're being fed on the main headline is nonsense, because no one who has more money than God and is trading that is listening to Wall Street Journal headlines. Trust me, nobody is. They're the ones paying someone to write the headline so that they can counter trade you. So, just be careful of what you listen to and hear, and be ready to be a contrarian and counter trade when necessary.
I was just going to say, guys, could we touch on that just a little bit more? I don't know if you saw this tweet yesterday by one of the Winklevi. It was from Tyler. And again, he's purporting that it's an inflation hedge. He literally is Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, he did say that. Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote, it's properties
We're still
dictate
doing
that
this?
it should be inversely correlated to inflation. At what point does he not understand that's not works?
And who stands to benefit from that narrative? The guy that bought that, have been shilling Bitcoin since 2013 and own an exchange. Of course, they're the ones shilling.
Yeah. And also, folks, you can see another trade that I've been obviously talking about for weeks. We had the announcement. We had the auction yesterday. We have this is a 7-day sentiment versus price chart. Sentiment being in the red and the green, price being the blue line. And we've seen it have its ups and its downs. Now it's a little on the downside, but it looks like sentiment is beginning to rise. Hopefully for all you degen bankrupt traders, we get some good news or some sort of public reporting. Okay, I want to go on to before I begin, Doug, anything you want to say with regards to mortgage rates, because I know you're dying inside right now.
Actually, yeah, I just want to touch something that's getting some press now. So is this watching the markets in the last year has been like an economics 101 class from college. So inflation, which most Americans didn't even know probably what that word was. Then we went to stagflation. Now the last literally 3 or 4 days, deflation is really getting a buzz. We have Kathy Wood, Elon Musk, and then Jeff Gundlach, the famous bond portfolio managers, throwing that out. So just what folks, just to know what that, if you don't know what that is, inflation means every price, for the most part, everything goes up at once, quite rapidly. And deflation is the opposite, where prices all go down at once. And why that's a problem, which is interesting, because Dan Nathan from CNBC's Fast Money made a comment yesterday that the housing market essentially is a locked market right now. So when you think of the housing market 9 months ago, it was almost as liquid as the stock market. I mean, literally, you can get a buyer for your house in the same day and then get a cash offer and close in 10 days. I mean, the stock market's T+3, right? So it's almost like the same settlement. And his point now is that the Fed has been so aggressive raising rates that buyers cannot qualify for levels that sellers are trying to sell at. So essentially, you have a locked market. So sellers can't sell and buyers can't buy. And so that's what Kathy Wood and Elon and Jeff are kind of, that's their thesis, right? That you're raising rates so much that you're going to overreach. And then therefore, you're going to make a lot of purchases out of people's, out of their bandwidth, so to speak. So then prices are going to have to regress, but you've seized up credit so much, it's really going to, you're going to really screw up things, quite honestly. So that's something to keep in mind, on the deflation narrative is now really making the rounds. So, and we discussed this before with the bullwhip effect, right? Where some people think the Fed will be cutting rates in 6 months. Obviously, I don't think that's happening because the Fed is thinking quite differently. But yeah, that's something with the mortgage, with mortgages and housing to keep an eye out for. So.
I have a feeling, Doug, our signal is going to be that Bloomberg headline that BlackRock just bought 20% of the houses on market in a certain period, and then that's going to be the housing bottom. I have a feeling.
Welcome back to 2009, right? So unbelievable.
I mean, that's what I mean. That they helped drive up. Well, also this was a narrative that I don't have acute data access to, but I mean that was a very big narrative about private equity buying up
that's
real estate and property, which has been happening forever, but never single family housing and stuff like that.
But it's not even the macro narrative is have some goddamn dry powder for when the market goes like this, because that is where the deals are had. Okay.
Well, they're Gundlach and the others, they're saying that we have seen a decline already in areas where it does show that inflation is regressing, right? So you've seen that in commodities, you've seen that in shipping freight prices, right? So they're saying, why is the Fed? Elon actually called for a 1/4 point decrease. So they're kind of right in that, but again, they're not the ones that's calling the shots here. It's the Fed, and the Fed's going to do what the Fed's going to do.
Well, it's also look at who's saying that. Like Elon's, all of his companies depend on increased spending for increased revenues, for increased shareholder profits. So I mean, yeah, clearly he's not going to be happy about a potential recession, because it means less Tesla cars are going to get sold, which means he can sell less stock in the future at a lower price. And so, again, just back and forth, just be careful of who's saying what. Even if they make a good point, nobody with that much money is saying anything without a reason to say it.
Exactly.
So that's also something to be cognizant of.
All right, folks. Which story do you want to pick? All you have to do is Google Do Kwon today, because every story up there is about the arrest warrant issued for this character. I'm pretty sure that all of you guys saw the little documentary that went on. Douche Kwon. That went on. I forget where that was. Who did that documentary? But they sat down with him and he went through how, Luna's my life and all this stuff. And, the one thing it overlooks is the fact that $45 billion was eviscerated from the market, and a lot of people's life savings and important money. So, I honestly think that this is what needs to be done. There needs to be accountability for situations like this, for situations like 3AC. And Nick, I think it was you that I think it was you that commented, and correct me if I'm wrong. This happening with the arrest warrant issuance of Kwon really is what's needed to hit the bottom. Was that you who said that?
I don't think that was me. I don't think that the market is gonna give a shit about him any longer.
Well, he's still fascinating considering.
Oh, yeah, no, I think that the story. I mean, he's like Adam Newman. Like, it's fascinating to look, watch, and laugh at, but I don't think it's like in terms of translation into price action. Other than Luna, I don't think he's a big deal anymore.
And let's talk about price action for a second. The news of this arrest warrant dropped Luna Classic. Wait, no, it was it Luna? It was Luna Classic or Luna? I can't. I just had it in my head and I got it all screwed up. Luna down 50%. It was the new Luna down 50%, which actually makes one of his creations, Luna, absolutely valuable. I mean, he started a version 2. This is unheard of. Excuse me, folks. I got this bad cough. But what's also bad about this guy starting version 2 and actually getting people to invest with it again, it's like Celsius. Look at Celsius. Oh, I'm so sorry. Soda went down the wrong way. Anyway, so Celsius has come up with a plan to reinvent itself as a custodian. And we kind of touched on this yesterday, which is a big scam.
Hey, I lost billions. You should give me more. I know how to keep it safe.
Oh, it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. And I'm going to drop this right here into the chat. If anybody wants to hear what this is the leaked internal meeting from the other day. That link is safe. I grabbed it off of YouTube just now. But this is the leaked internal meeting that was recorded with Alex Mashinsky selling this new vision for the company. It's absolutely absurd.
What did he say? We're planning on surprising people to the upside. We have enough, what did he say, enough cash to last through next year?
And it's going to be codenamed Kelvin. And people are going to pay us to custody their coins because we did it so freaking great the first time around.
Kelvin Klein? I know that guy.
Also speaking was his chief compliance officer, Oren Blonstein. They were selling the employees to stick around for this new company. It's ridiculous. Lucas, it literally is grasping at straws. I don't know who owns Cell still, but if you do, hopefully it's in degen mode like Luna Classic is, and you're not a long-time investor who got hurt, because this is an utter joke. This guy's a Ponzi scheme. He's a liar. It's I can't say enough bad stuff about how this company was run and how this company was played out. I'm so sick and tired of like saying it nicely, but yeah.
Tell us how you feel, Alex.
Screw Mashinsky.
He's ruining the good name of Alex's everywhere.
Yeah, man. Imagine your name was Karen, right? You're pissed off now too. Well, guess what? You know,
if my name was Karen, I would be changing that shit immediately.
I had this debate with my wife. She said, absolutely, I'd be changing my name from Karen. So from this point on, I'll be known as Bob.
Billy Bob Macioli, the Puerto Rican cowboy.
You know, actually, Vasek, that's really funny. That's a good statement. He goes,
that is very funny.
The first time they're holding our coins. That's hilarious. Oh, is that the real Steve Conlon? Steve, if that's really you in the chat, I want you to wink twice. Update on the auction. We're sorry we haven't been able to provide one. All we can say right now is that the auction is still ongoing in its second day and remains highly competitive. Thank you, Steve, for bringing that. Thank you very much. That is awesome
That
news.
seems like good news.
Yeah. So there's been no news from the end of the auction because it's still going on, and there was people, kind of hinting at that or trying to rumor it yesterday, but it seems to be the truth. So I'm really excited about that. At least it's not like the Ashinsky scandal. I don't know. Nobody's going to join me on Celsius jokes today. Screw you all. I'm taking my toys home.
Hey, I've been laying down some jokes. Don't give me that.
I would just add to what Nick was saying that, I live near Palm Beach, so the Madoff scandal, that was the epicenter. And for a while, it was taboo to mention that. But now you have all young people moving to Palm Beach, and they have no history recollection of Madoff. Same thing. The market, unfortunately, those have lost. It's obviously going to be, for the old guard, a sore topic. But for the new people moving into this market, they have no idea who Kwon is. It's not even news to them, right? So, but for those that have suffered, obviously,
you know what? Moving forward, like I see us a year from now, and like when we're doing our educational stuff, Trade the Chain and all that crap, we're gonna put out educational videos explaining exactly about all these ass clowns from 2022 and 2021 that have absolutely just ripped apart the fabric and integrity of crypto, particularly for the ones of us that have been in it so long, trying to speak to people who are new and say, hey, listen, come play in our sandbox, and we'll teach you the right from the wrong and all this. So I'm mad. All right, folks, don't forget, tomorrow on Twitter Spaces, we have Avalanche, Ava Labs on 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the Trade the Chain Twitter account. For all the Trade the Chain members, we have our member AMA at 5 p.m. Eastern Time today. Go into the Discord community and get the registration link for that. We do that every Wednesday at 5 p.m. live, and we got Josh coming in from the Thai to run dish on some news, and I'm sure we'll get some good pieces of information from the SALT conference that just went up, as well as DAS out in New York City. I was particularly, I'm going to say this, I know I said it to you guys earlier, but I feel like the Mooch and SBF have become like besties ever since they got connected in Bahamas at the conference out there. And then Mooch sold them 30% of Skybridge Capital. But he didn't show up to SALT this year. He gave his talk from a video screen. So I was a little surprised. I mean, Doug, you'd come to my conference, right?
I have, yes.
So anyway, folks, that's it. We won't take up any more of your time. Happy Wednesday, happy hump day. Hang on to your handlebars. Don't forget the merge is coming up in a little bit. If you're at least bit interested on what that's going to look like, stay awake, grab the popcorn, and hopefully the world doesn't end. We love you guys very much. Thanks for watching.